McLaren's unexpectedly awful run of results in Formula 1 has undone a lot of its early season overachievements and all but handed Ferrari third place in the championship. Since the very first race of 2021, the famous old rivalry between McLaren and Ferrari has been reignited, even if it's only for the honour of being best of the rest behind Mercedes and Red Bull. McLaren edged that fight for most of the season and headed into the recent triple header of Mexico, Brazil and Qatar third in the constructors standings. But its dismal return of just 4 points from those 3 races has virtually guaranteed Ferrari will finish third. So what went wrong so quickly? In the last 3 races, only Haas and Williams have scored fewer points than McLaren. The 4-point return from 3 Grand Prix marks McLaren's worst run in terms of points since the end of 2018, when it managed 4 points from the final 6 races in its first season after splitting with Honda. Clearly, McLaren's not slumped to such a low point now, but it shows just how out of form the team is at the moment. And in the context of its fight with Ferrari, McLaren's been on the back foot a little while longer. Ferrari has now outscored McLaren in 5 consecutive races, picking up 81 points in that period compared to McLaren's 24. That has turned a 17.5 point deficit for Ferrari into a 39.5 point advantage with 2 races to go. Ferrari introduced an upgraded hybrid system back in Russia, while McLaren's car remains largely unchanged since the summer break. However, while the extra performance from Ferrari's power unit has helped swing the fight in its direction, it does not fully explain McLaren's downturn. The fact Mercedes and Red Bull are pushing each other so hard in the pursuit of performance has played a part in stretching the gaps in the field. McLaren's average deficit to the front over the triple header was 1.276%, a little worse than its average for the season of 0.915%. In fact, McLaren even posted its worst deficit of the season in Brazil, where it was 1.540% off the pace. But even though these races were among McLaren's worst, they were not anomalously uncompetitive. Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo still made it to Q3 5 times out of 6 between them during the triple header. The real problem is they were never at the head of the midfield group. McLaren had the 5th fastest car overall in each of the 3 events that comprised the triple header. Ferrari's pace has generally been stronger than McLaren since the introduction of its upgraded hybrid system, but in all 3 events, AlphaTauri driver Pierre Gasly was quicker than the best of the McLarens in qualifying. And in Qatar, Alpine was a shock interloper too. Fernando Alonso was 5th fastest in qualifying and converted that into 3rd in the race. Ferrari, AlphaTauri and McLaren's performance average for the season is similar, with less than 0.1% covering the trio, so it's no surprise to see the swings between the 3 over the triple header. Alpine's interference was more puzzling, but it seemed that its car simply worked well at Losail. Meanwhile, McLaren struggled, particularly in Brazil and Qatar, with the long, medium-speed corners playing to the weaknesses of a car that has a high peak downforce level, but struggles for balance on such configurations. There's much more to come on what's going on at McLaren, but before we get to that, we just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed to our channel so far. It means a lot to us, and if you'd like to keep up with everything that we're doing here at the race, consider hitting that button at any time to join the team. While McLaren's underlying pace across the triple header was nothing special by its standards, its return of 4 points, all taken by Norris, was down to an unfortunate combination of circumstances. Ricciardo and Norris suffered 2 collisions during the last 3 races, both of which cost potential top 5 finishes. The first was Ricciardo's in Mexico. From 7th on the grid, he made a good start and was up with the leaders approaching turn 1. He briefly had a tentative grip on 4th place, but hit Bottas as the Mercedes driver took the apex at turn 1. A pit stop for a broken front wing condemned Ricciardo to what he described as a sad 70-odd laps, further compromised by floor damage picked up when Williams driver George Russell hit him in a separate opening lap incident. Norris was not a factor in that race because he had to take a back-of-the-grid penalty for taking a new V6 turbo and MGU-K, and he did a good job to recover to 10th. His own costly mishap happened at the following race at Interlagos though. Norris made a good start from 5th and went to the right of Carlos Sainz's Ferrari, but Norris then moved back across to the left a little too early, with his left rear hitting Sainz's front right. The result was a puncture that forced a first lap pit stop. Norris recovered to 10th again, which was a good performance, but it fell far short of what it could have been. Ricciardo was running 8th at Interlagos and potentially on a one-stop strategy that could have allowed him to finish as high as 5th, ahead of both Ferrari drivers. But he retired because a cracked pipe caused an issue with the power unit. The costliest misfortune came in Qatar. Norris held 4th place and would likely have finished at least 5th, but he was one of the drivers to pick up a late race puncture. He recovered to 9th despite his time loss and unplanned extra pit stop, but that was nowhere near the points return it should have been. While Ferrari's form has generally been better than McLaren's lately, there's every chance McLaren could have come out of each race of the triple header with a double-digit points haul. It still would have lost ground to Ferrari, but it would have scored enough points to at least keep the fight for 3rd place alive. Ricciardo hit problems in all 3 races in the triple header, culminating in an unusual problem in Qatar when he was forced into excessive fuel saving. This contributed to him only finishing 12th, at some points driving up to 2 seconds slower than he otherwise would have been. While the team did eventually realise that there was a problem with the readings, this eliminated any chance of Ricciardo scoring points. Even in his difficult first half of the season after switching to McLaren, Ricciardo had not previously gone 2 consecutive races without scoring a point. Now he's had 3 pointless races in a row, and he's admitted it's been a bit of a downward spiral. But Qatar was the only one of those 3 events where Ricciardo was simply too slow. Even there, he said, "I don't think I sucked." He just carried a constant deficit to Norris all weekend because the circuit exposed his and the car's weaknesses. The Qatar circuit's sequence of long, medium-speed corners prompted a return of one of Ricciardo's main struggles this season. He has primarily struggled under braking, particularly longer braking zones where he wants to carry in more speed than the car prefers. But he's also lacked confidence with the car's balance through the corner itself. Qatar's layout required the very technique that has not come naturally to Ricciardo. He describes such corners as where the McLaren style is the one and only style to get you through those corners quickly. So the combination of a lack of pace and misfortune with the unnecessary fuel saving meant Ricciardo's triple header ended with comfortably his worst weekend. And that kind of sums up McLaren's recent run. The team could have scored a perfectly decent number of points, it just didn't. In simple terms, McLaren's not been the best performing package in a very tight 3-team group, whereas it generally was for the first half of the season. So it's been slightly less competitive and become wasteful, at a time Ferrari's nailing most weekends with both drivers, and the likes of AlphaTauri and Alpine have interfered with the fight. Essentially, McLaren has suffered from a combination of no longer overachieving to the degree it did earlier this year, and now underachieving compared to what has been possible. Ultimately, it doesn't matter if it's bad luck, misjudgments or a lack of pace. The upshot is McLaren has stumbled badly in its fight with Ferrari, and the recent run looks like being decisive. What do you make of how the battle has played out and how McLaren's challenge has suddenly faded? Let us know in the comments, hit the like button if you enjoyed this, and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to join us again in the future for more videos.